So this morning we're heading back into Hot Springs. It's just about 10 miles from here. Maybe, no, it's not even that far. We'll also show you a little bit of Hot Springs because it is an incredibly beautiful little town, except for one thing. There is major road construction going right down through town. But if you look past that, you can see that it's a beautiful little place. And then we're heading down into the grasslands this afternoon, and we hope to spend a couple of days there. Well, Linda and I are walking down through the main street of Hot Springs, South Dakota. Last time we came through here, there was nothing going on. All the shops were open, but I'm told it's going to be really, really nice when they're done. Up on the hill above the town are mansions. Those are from the old days. A lot of rich people settled here because of the hot springs. Because of the curbing here, you can see, kind of get an idea what it's going to be like when it's done. It's going to be pretty nice, I think. I have to come back here again pretty soon. We're just walking down a channel here that pedestrians are allowed to use. Over here on the right is the 1888 jail, Hot Springs, Dakota territory, and I'm pretty sure it says on that reader board over there that Calamity Jane spent a night in that there jail. I was thinking the other day, there was another reference to Calamity Jane, and I was wondering where she got that nickname. And this part of town is really pretty with the old buildings. Most of them sandstone. Here's the old sandstone train depot. Traffic gets backed up because of the construction. It's one-way traffic only. Used to be railroad tracks. This is kind of a interesting building too, the old train depot. This big, beautiful sandstone building was the Evans Hotel. It started out originally as a wooden structure, big like that, and it burned down. Not too hard to imagine because of all the wood heat back in the day. Then they built it out of sandstone, and then in 1975 or 79, it burned down, and they actually restored it, and they brought it back. And now it's been turned into apartments, and it's pretty nice inside. Nice, quaint little apartments inside, real cozy. This is a river of hot water down through here. And in the wintertime, this forms a big cloud, steam cloud coming down through the center of town. I heard it's pretty spectacular to see that. Well, there is a huge, huge storm passing to the north of us here in Chadron, Nebraska. I'm glad it's missing us. So I'm standing here in front of the Museum of the Fur Trade in Chadron, Nebraska, and this is one of my top 3 museums of all time. I can't show you the whole thing inside, but I do have permission to go in there and video so that you'll know what's in there, and I hope it whets your appetite and makes it so that you want to come here and see this yourself. And besides that, from here in Chadron, Nebraska, it's only like an hour's drive north until you're in Hot Springs, South Dakota, Custer, South Dakota, Mount Rushmore, the Crazy Horse Memorial, Wind Cave, all those places up there, tons of camping and just beautiful things to see. This is a beautiful part of the country here. So I'm encouraging you guys to come here and see this.
Look at, guys, Red Cloud's rifle. Red Cloud was a chief of the Ogallala Lakotas, which is a Sioux tribe, I guess. He was the only chief to win a battle against the U.S. Army.
What's really cool here is almost every one of these rifles is a flintlock. And there's probably a couple of hundred of them in here. There's some cap locks too, down here at this end. Oh yeah, there's cap locks. But almost every one of the other ones are flintlocks, so these are from prior to 1840. Now, this being the Museum of the Fur Trade, it has everything to do with that era. This is one of my top 3 museums, this one. If you're into the rifles of this era, this is the place to come. I just love flintlocks. I own a couple of them myself. Love to shoot them. And I also love old knives. Up above the main floor right here is a huge birch bark canoe. 36 feet long, constructed in 1950. All natural materials. And there's a canoe like that in use. Easily repairable using birch bark, and it was sealed with pine resin or sap. They would have been transporting furs. That was their job. There's 2 things in this museum that I remember explicitly that I thought were really special. Let me show them to you. Of course, that era was all about fur and wool. And look at this beautiful, beautiful woolen cape for a lady. That one is amazing. The description here says that this woolen cape was made about 1750. Wool blankets were a very important trade item back then. Everybody wanted them. Not just for blankets, but for making clothing. This coat here is made from a Hudson Bay blanket. Something else is I didn't realize that the blankets, some of them were really long. They were designed to be cut in half. Right there's the middle. More trade items. Tobacco. This is called twist tobacco over here. There's a plug tobacco there. When Linda and I were down on Christmas Island, we sailed down there on our boat. This is the Christmas Island in the Pacific Ocean. But what they smoked down there was twist tobacco and plug tobacco like that, the natives. And they rolled them up. They didn't have cigarette paper, but they took the lauhala leaf, the pandanus leaf, and they stripped the bark in such a way that it made a real fine paper that was naturally rolled. And that's how they rolled their cigarettes there. Well, this museum is very interesting. Shows what life was really like back then. I see things in this museum I've never seen anywhere else. Look at this rain jacket, and it's made out of seal intestines. Isn't that something? Various size rifle flints. Those flintlocks went through a lot of flints because they would That's what helped make the spark against the frizzen of the flintlock, the stone striking the frizzen and making sparks that would ignite the pan and set off the charge. They needed flints. Everybody needed flints back then. In our travels, Linda and I have found as many rifle flints as we've found arrowheads. Black powder, powder horns, everybody needed these things. Kegs of powder. Traps of various sizes were widely traded too. Every mountain man needed a set. But look at the size of this bear trap down here. I'm gonna put my hand down there, you get an idea. It's massive. If you watch today's bushcraft channels, you'll notice everybody wants to carve a cup. I think it's called a kuska. So every bushcrafter carves his own cup, but here's where it came from. Every canoeist had to have their own cup. Some of these are extremely fancy. There's one carved to look like a dog. One thing that was really cool here was they had an unopened bale of Hudson Bay blankets, but they opened them up and they've been selling them. There's a few left here. Look at this beautiful color. This is an 80 by 90 size blanket. The number of, these are the points. These denote the size. This is an unissued, unused Hudson Bay blanket, original. Look at the beautiful color. It says, trade blanket, 19th century, never been sold, can be yours today for $225. You'd pay this for a regular wool blanket. Look at this. Am I going to kick myself for passing this up? Ah, man. I don't know. So Chadron, Nebraska is in the northwestern corner of Nebraska. It was definitely a part of the early mountain man trappers, the fur trappers. If you're into that history, and I love it, you know, Jim Bridger and Kit Carson and all the rest, this was a very important hub here. This is one of my top 3 museums, you guys. So if you get up to this area, you got to stop here, because if you're at all interested in Western history, this is a must-see. This museum is. Okay, all right, now you're wondering, what's Rick's other 2 favorite? All right, another one is the Mountain Man Museum in Pinedale, Wyoming. Jim Bridger's rifle is in there. It has all the goods that they use to live day to day, everything from their shaving kits to their horse tack and their rifles and everything in the history. You just get to see that. And then there's Bent's Fort near Pueblo. Bent's Fort was rebuilt exactly like the original, because they had so many drawings and paintings of Bent's Fort that even though it burned down, there was hundreds of documents for them to go by to rebuild it exactly, and they did. Bent's Fort is really important. You see, that was the first commercial enterprise west of the Mississippi River, and it provided a place for the trappers to go and trade their goods without having to take them all the way back to St. Louis. It was a big deal in its time, and it was world famous in its time. That's Bent's Fort. And now the Fur Traders Museum here. You need to see this one too. Up on top here is a Trapdoor Springfield. This one is a 50-70. The later ones were 45-70s. This second one down here is a Sharps rifle. This one is 50-90. If you watched Matthew Quigley in Quigley Down Under, he was shooting a Sharps rifle, 45-120 I think his was, or maybe a 45-110. Down underneath that is a rolling block rifle. This one's 44-77. All very important back in the late 1800s. So in all of history, this is my favorite era, because I can't imagine what it was like for a man to set out on horse with a pack horse and go off into the mountains of the West where no other white man was around and spend the winter trapping. Spend the winter trapping in the mountains, living, you know, all by himself. And then to get all those furs back to St. Louis or wherever they had to take them, maybe to a rendezvous point, what hardy souls they were. There is no one alive like that today. I seriously doubt it. This is the sign on one side of the museum. And it says Bordeaux Trading Post from about 1837 until 1876. An Indian trading house occupied a site near here, built by James Bordeaux. The trading station was once attacked and set afire by hostile Crow warriors. Fortunately, some friendly Sioux Indians came to the rescue and drove off the attacking Crow. The Native American Plains teepee, I can tell you for a fact, is one of the most wind-resistant shelters you can have. It can also be very warm inside. Well, this is south of Chadron, Nebraska, and it's in National Forest. It's a real steep road. It's been pouring down rain. I got a four-wheel drive hauling the trailer up this right now. And there's supposed to be a spot, that boondocking spot up here. Just hope the road doesn't get too muddy or washed out or something.
It's pretty narrow too. Hopefully we don't meet somebody coming out. Road keeps going ever onward.
So far though, it's not, the road's solid. It's not muddy, so that's good.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you found a level spot on this hillside.
So now we're looking for any type of a pull-out.
Oh, wow.
Getting a little muddy.
Yeah. Oh, is that a Nebraska site or what? Prairies and a windmill? Off in the distance, see that?
I see that. You know, we better get there pretty soon because we are running out of road. Now, this spot was described to us, looks like it's about a quarter mile ahead, but notice the road is starting to get all grassed over. We're running out of road. We're gonna end up in somebody's farm field here pretty soon.
In 1/4 mile, arrive at Nebraska National Forest on the left.
Yeah, sure. We call her Wanda.
We always wonder what the heck she's talking about. Wildlife management area. Well, this is it.
Well, at one time we were part of the wildlife.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm working on next Friday's video. And the nice thing about traveling like this is the office always changes the view out the window. I'm sitting in the most comfortable seat in the whole room. Anyways, I got to get this done for you. Linda and I have been camped here for 2 nights. The first night it rained. It rained most of yesterday, and then yesterday afternoon it cleared up to sunshine, and we woke up to sunshine and breezes today. Still in Nebraska, rolling hills, pine forest, and just south of Chadron. And today we're heading south. Getting plenty of solar, keeping everything charged up, which is handy because yesterday being mostly rainy and everything, it's nice to get everything topped off again. But Linda and I just stayed inside the trailer all day yesterday and just worked on video. Getting things put away, Linda?
Yep, everything's put away.
Well, so here's how our day went. We left camp this morning south of Chadron, drove down highway, oh gosh, what is it, 385, I think, down through Alliance, Nebraska. We were going to go to Chimney Rock, but we decided to push on to Scottsbluff because today was one of those days. The day when you got to go to a store and resupply, and you got to do laundry. And we ended up watching the clothes go round. So we did that. And after that, it just kind of got a little late. So we kind of headed east out of Scottsbluff, and now we're at Clear Lake Wildlife Management Area. And what I read about this place was that there was lots of dispersed camping sites. Not true. I think we've got the only one, and we drove down miles of dirt road to find it. And it's miles of dirt road to get back up out of here. So, but it's beautiful. Let me show you. It's actually a parking area, but there is no one out here. So we're just parked here for the night. It'll do. Trailer's level. Lots of birds. Every kind of bird you can imagine. I hear an owl, amongst other kinds of birds. Woodpeckers, you bet. Oh, and we're surrounded by electric fence. There's electric fence running all along here, blocks down there, runs across and runs up behind our trailer on the outside. This is kind of like an alcove surrounded by electric fence. I'll be very careful tonight when I step out of the trailer. Tell you a little story about electric fence. One of my high school classmates, when we were 16 years old, we were out bird hunting, and he stepped into some bushes to take a leak, and he didn't notice the electric fence wire going through the bushes, and he got nailed. Poor guy. I felt so sorry for him. I really did. It kind of ruined his day. We just got up this morning. I'm just making coffee. It's the first warm morning that we've had since we left Montana. It's very pleasant. It's about almost 70 degrees. This place is a paradise for birds, and you can tell that the birds really love it. There's so many different kinds of birds here, and all kinds of songs that I'm hearing in the trees. It's a pretty special place. They don't allow bird hunting here, but they do allow deer hunting. So it's a bird sanctuary. Now, I mentioned that there was no place to disperse camp. That's not quite accurate. There was a couple of spots that were pickup camper size coming in here, mainly that the fishermen would use, because this is all creeks through here, and there is a lake down in here too. There was one very narrow, muddy 2-track that I didn't want to go down, but it was there, and it looked like there might be some dispersed camping out there. Now, there are a half a dozen campgrounds in here, but they're state campgrounds. So with their fees and everything, we generally don't go. Anyways, it ends up being pretty expensive. Oh yeah. It got a little far from the tea kettle or the coffee pot. Make a little cowboy coffee this morning. Anyway, back to the price of camping, because the purpose of this channel is to camp and travel the United States as inexpensively as possible. And we have a whole lot of fun doing it. I think you'd have to agree if you watch this channel regularly. Right here where I pulled in last night, it's really, really sandy, so I'm gonna have to keep my speed up going out of here. And I was just trying to see if there's a side of the road I should favor going out. Maybe I can stay up here on the right side, I don't know. This is the road we came in on. It's called Rattlesnake Lane, so I'm being very careful where I walk. Of course, out here in the West, you gotta watch where you walk anytime. And you can see it disappearing off here. We're going out this way. We only saw one other car coming in here yesterday, and we probably came several miles down this road. But it was just one guy fishing is all. Hasn't been anybody by here all night. I see one set of animal tracks on top of my track. Here and there. Pretty widely spaced out, but I guess it could be deer. There's whitetail down here. Just one solitary track, so it must be a buck. There you can see us back in there. One problem that we have traveling now is for state campgrounds and even national parks and national forests, a lot of the campgrounds have been taken over by recreation.gov, and I don't like it at all. You have to make a reservation. You can pull into a campground that has a campground host, and you'll say, any spots available? He'll say, I don't know. You have to call such and such a number. Some of these places don't have internet connection, and then you're really screwed because you got to make your reservation before you even get there. And then when you do try to make a reservation, it's not straight up. It's difficult to make a connection. You got to download the app on your phone, and even then doesn't exactly work well. It seems to be really buggy. Recreation.gov. I wish it was back to just filling out an envelope and putting your check inside and sticking it in the Iron Ranger. That was way easier. I don't like it the way it is now at all. So if I see a campground that's set up with recreation.gov, I try my hardest not to go there. Well, this is part of the sand hills of Nebraska, and this road is very sandy. Not to mention there's a lot of steep parts here. So I'm in four-wheel drive and hoping not to meet somebody coming the other way. Not sure how far we have to go to get out. Hope it's not too far. Some of these are pretty steep. And it is sandy. Oh no. I do have pause traction on this particular Yukon. Thank goodness. That'll help. Here's a little dispersed camping spot right here. Oh, look how sandy it is getting in there.
It's another let's get stuck in a sand spot.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of pretty.
Not. You need eye surgery.
We did pass another dispersed camping spot. Four-wheel drive in here is absolutely mandatory. Make sure you got good tires with good traction. We've just got our fingers crossed and we're praying to get out of here without getting stuck.
Yeah, don't slow down.
Yeah, I know. Trying to keep the speed up here. Seriously. But it is so beautiful, yeah?
The trees are just amazing.
Cottonwoods on one side, and what is that on the other side? Is that pines?
Some kind of, yeah. Some kind of evergreen tree.
Just past another dispersed camping spot. They're here, so the person that made that claim wasn't lying. You just got to be prepared to find them. So most of the dispersed camping along this route is on the eastern half of it.
This is a good part of the road.
It's been bad, really bad. And that mud is deep.
Hopefully the road that'll take us out of here is coming up pretty soon. But we've been saying that for a while now, huh?
Yeah. Wow, even a big rock. Okay.
What's next? Landslides. Oh, jeez.
I don't know, maybe an hour and a half of that road to get back to our camp spot, and then it was at least an hour and a half just now to go out the other side. And this end of it got really bad. There was places where to get around the mud, I had to drive up on the embankment, and then the trailer was real steep, like it was borderline tip over.
Yeah, you could have pulley.
Yeah.
Or we've been stuck in the mud. Stinky mud.
Yeah. So now we've just got severe washboard, but at least we're...
So maybe we're not out of it yet.
Now we're on county road though, so it takes us back up to the highway. So, hey, you know what though? We don't regret going in there. It was beautiful. That's Clearwater Wildlife Management Area 2, and it's maybe 10 or 15 miles west of Ogallala, Nebraska, Highway 26.
Make sure you have high clearance 4-wheel drive.
Yeah. And then be prepared to camp in a beautiful place. That road got so dicey towards the end. At one point, I was up on the embankment to stay out of the mud, but the trailer didn't make it up, and it was going sideways through the mud behind us, you know. We're glad we're out on pavement now.
Yeah, sometimes.
This is a good place to end this video. Thanks for coming along, you guys, and stay tuned for the next one, because we're going to keep videoing and heading down through Kansas now, and just to see what we can find and, well, where we end up. Yeah, it's all fun. Catch you later.